Hey guys, this is Mrs. Lance, and today we are going to be talking about something very important. We're going to be talking about who rules, who has all the power. Okay, this is going to be important as we study the different countries in the world. We want to know what types of government there are in different parts of the world, different countries, and in ours. So let's think about this. What type of government or leaders do you know that is around you, that are around you? So there could be some locally, there could be some for our state, and obviously some nationally. Think about it. Tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your dog, tell your cat, tell someone. Okay, all right. So we have many local leaders, we have mayors, we have council members of the city. We have state leaders such as our state representatives, our governor, and national leaders like our Supreme Court, our president, okay, and then our Congress members as well. All right, so the next thing that we are going to look at is who rules, who has the power, okay? I am going to try to read this, but you are welcome, please, 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 to pause this at any time and read the paragraphs for yourself. All right, so we know somebody's got to be in charge. If you compared all the governments in the world, you would find one thing in common. Someone is in charge. The question is who? There are many different types or forms of government. Some have one leader who has all the control, others give power to the people. Here are some forms of government that exist or have existed in the world. So in this case, all of the governments that we're going to talk about next are going to have all the power in me, myself, and I. So one person, right? How many people is me, myself, and I? One. All right, they are all autocracies. An autocracy is a government in which one person has all the power. There are two main types of autocracy, a monarchy and a dictatorship. So we're kind of familiar with a monarchy. In a monarchy, a king or queen rules the country. The king or queen is known as a monarch. Monarchs usually come to power through their family line. The current king or queen's oldest child becomes the next king or queen. In some monarchies, especially those in historical times, the monarch held all the power and had the final say over the government. In modern times, monarchs usually share power with other parts of government. Often, they are also subject to the country's constitution. Okay, so when it was just a king or queen, that was kind of the older times. Nowadays, they will often have a constitution which does not give all the power to one person, so that part's a little tricky. All right, we have one other form of autocracy. A dictatorship is a form of government where one leader has absolute control over citizens' lives. If there is a constitution, the dictator has control over that too. So it doesn't mean much. Although other parts of the government may exist, such as courts or a lawmaking body, these branches always do what the dictator wants them to do. They do not represent citizens. So think about this. Where is all the power? It is only in that dictator. Even if they have rules like a constitution, the dictator changes that whenever they please. Okay, and people fear the dictator, so they always do what the dictator wants them to do. Here's just a quick example of current or modern monarchies. They're from Norway. Okay, so now we take the power from one person to the people. Okay, so a autocracy has the power given to one person. A democracy is where the citizens hold the political power. Okay, the power goes to many people. There are two basic types of democracies. In a representative democracy, citizens elect leaders to represent their rights and interests in government. The elected leaders or representatives do the day-to-day work of governing the country. They consider the issues, work to find solutions, pass laws, and do all the other things necessary to keep a country going. Citizens hold the ultimate power, though because if they don't citizens hold the ultimate power, though, because if they don't like what their representatives are doing, they can vote in new ones. So we're familiar with that. We have elections for our state representatives, for obviously the president is the most commonly known one, but we have all kinds of elections for our town, for our state. So we look for people who hold our views or the things that we value the most, and we try to vote them in. And if they don't do a good job of representing what we believe is most important, then we can vote in new leaders the next election. Okay. So initially, our form of democracy came from a model long ago before the 13 colonies. Okay, it was a direct democracy. So this is where there's no representatives. Every person makes a decision on every topic. Okay, so citizens are directly involved in the day-to-day work of governing the country. Citizens might be required to participate in lawmaking or act as judges, for example. The best example of this was in the ancient Greek city-state called Athens. Most modern countries are too large for a direct democracy to work. So imagine making decisions about something happening in a whole nother state, okay? Or your parents having to vote on every single decision that the city of San Angelo wants to make, okay? That would be incredibly time consuming. So we have here in America a representative democracy where representatives make decisions for us that we hope represent our beliefs. Okay, so there's a third kind of power here. Instead of just one person, like an autocracy, instead of many people, like a democracy, we ourselves and us. Okay, the power in a few people. In an oligarchy, funny word, isn't it? A small group of people has all the power. Oligarchy is a Greek word that means rule by a few. Sometimes this means that only a certain group has political rights, such as members of one political party, one social class, or one race. For example, in some societies, only noble families who owned land could participate in politics. That example is more in the past. An oligarchy can also mean that a few people control the country. For example, a junta is a small group of people, usually military officers, who rule a country after taking it over by force. A junta often operates much like a dictatorship, except that several people share power. So this is where there's a group of elite people. So it's not just one, it's a few people making the decisions, but sometimes it'll be, like we said, the military group, or maybe a wealthy family, or just people who have a lot of power, okay? So one example would be like this, a theocracy. A theocracy is a government that recognizes God or a divine being as the ultimate authority. Theo is a Greek word that means God. In a theocracy, religious law is used to settle disputes and rule the people. So let me give you an example real quick that, for instance, in our country, that would be like, we know many people are Christian or they follow the Bible. That would be like, instead of us, when someone broke a law, saying, hey, you broke our city law or our state law, whatever, we would bring out our Bible and say, oh, you broke the law according to the Bible. So a theocracy has a religious leader, typically, who they believe is in power based on being connected with God or having some kind of divine authority. A theocracy can also be a democracy. dictatorship, monarchy, or just about any other kind of government. For example, the Republic of Iran recognizes Islamic law, but Iran's citizens vote to elect their leaders. Modern theocracies are usually found in countries where the population is strongly religious. So, in this case, we have some elected leaders that are working with that supreme leader. Okay, so the power is within a few people. Um, our final example is an anarchy. This is our last one where supposedly no one has the power, or as we can see here in anarchy, nobody is in control, or everybody is, depending on how you look at it. Sometimes the word anarchy is used to refer to an out of control mob. When it comes to government, anarchy would be one way to describe the human state of existence before any governments developed. It would be similar to the way animals live in the wild, with everyone looking out for themselves. Today, people who call themselves anarchists usually believe that people should be allowed to freely associate together without being subject to any nation or government laws. I'm going to add that in there. So they don't really want to, or don't feel like they should follow any type of law. There are no countries that have anarchy as their form of government. Now, with my students in class, after we read that sentence, we thought about, oh, look, we would add theocracy right here under few, oligarchy, right? Power to a few people. If we have all these choices of governments and no country has chosen anarchy, what does that tell us about that form of government? If they have all these choices and nobody chose it. Think about it. You can come to your own conclusion. I hope you enjoyed this quick video. Like I said, please feel free to pause it, rewind, and make sure you understand our different types of government. We have power in one person, power with a few, and then power with many or all. Okay. You can use this chart to help you answer any questions or help you better understand our topic today.